I kind of felt that the first week at COP16 was surprisingly silent, but then thinking about it a little bit more, I think maybe that's a good sign. I've heard many people who are a bit concerned about things maybe going too slow, being too silent, not enough action, not enough controversy, but actually I'm quite happy about it because we saw this mudslinging between China and the US in Tianjin, for example, at the previous intersessional. And I mean, that was not a constructive atmosphere to get these negotiations anywhere. So I believe that the silence is probably a good thing. It seems like negotiators are actually at work. They seem to be trying to get their act together, trying to deliver an outcome here in Cancun. And I hope they stick to this. And I hope they don't switch into a different mode in second week. Maybe there's still a good chance that we get an outcome here in Cancun that gives us a foundation for something bigger and better next year in South Africa, the fair and ambitious binding deal that we are all hoping for. Well, I should probably explain what TckTckTck is. This is a campaign of an alliance of organizations. We are 250 roundabout, NGOs from various backgrounds and fields. So you have environmental groups, you have development groups, but also faith and youth and labor unions, etc., quite broad, all united in this effort to bring about a global response to climate change that actually ensures that we keep global warming below certain danger thresholds. And how are we trying to do this? Well, basically we are an alliance that is focused on public mobilization. We try to create this public mandate for decision makers, for politicians, governments, heads of states, to make the bold decisions we actually need to reduce emissions, to keep us safe, to keep us below 2 degrees or 1.5 degrees global warming. It's very much about political space for maneuvering, and in order to do so you need to engage broad audiences. It has to become normal to roll up your sleeves and take action. We want people to put solar cells on their roofs and to save energy at home. We want businesses to increase the efficiency in their processes. We want investors to take their money out of polluting fossil fuels and into clean, modern, safe solutions like renewable energies and energy efficient technologies. And we think the more we tell this story about this growing trend, I think the more we will convince the rest of the world and all the other hesitant players that climate action is actually inevitable. And then we probably at some stage will have majority of people, business and investors doing the right thing. And at the end of the day, finally, maybe at some stage, the politicians will also finally feel encouraged to make the bold moves that we are waiting for, that so far they haven't been able to make. I guess maybe building on what I've just told you, I think, politicians tell us that it's great that there is a lot of kind of activism out there, people who care about the environment who tell them that we need stronger climate legislation, etc. But these same politicians also tell us that engaging this core of supporters of environmental and development groups is not enough to give them a sufficient mandate. That's why we are interested in engaging new audiences, making climate actions meaningful to them, and creating a movement that might not even know that it is a movement, produce a new generation of climate activists that might not even know that they're activists, but create this atmosphere, this trend that will finally convince these politicians who currently feel they have a public hurdle in front of them, that this hurdle is no longer there and that they can actually comfortably take action without being criticized or beaten for it, but actually with this good feeling that they might get some applause and votes and all the stuff they need for their political career. So I guess we are working on removing these hurdles, but I think at the moment many politicians still see a lack of public mandate as a hurdle for taking more bolder actions. Well, that's an interesting debate. Of course it is very important because action requires money. I mean, there's a lot of stuff already happening that is not supported by any funds from any developed countries for developing countries. A lot of positive action is already happening, but of course that's not at a scale that it would be sufficient. So I think we need to see action at a larger scale. And I think in order to encourage the action that is already happening to extend, in order to kind of advance this further, I think we need this financial support. I think in order to make it easier for developed country governments to provide this financial support, we should again challenge existing perceptions and narratives. It is often seen as a burden. It is often seen as aid that some governments might be unwilling to give. It is often seen as lost money that will disappear in some governments that are corrupted and that don't use it for effective action. I think we need to challenge these perceptions, and I think we need to see this as an investment. I think if you put money in climate action now, both domestically and abroad in developing countries, I think this is something that will give you huge returns. At home, because you are creating markets, industries and jobs that help you prosper, but also abroad, because if you don't help countries there tackle these problems, you know, the problems will be bigger further down the road, and they will come home to roost.